A country that may not be big in size, but its heart is easily measurable to the rest of the world. And that is the country of Denmark. Being home to approximately 5,748,769 people, at least that's estimated for 2017. To this estimate, it is listed as the 112th largest country due to population, and all these people are spread across a unique landscape that is approximately 42,931 square kilometers, which means for every square kilometer you go, you'll see approximately 133.4 people. I really hope you don't see 0.4 people, because that would just be disgusting. They'd be cut into like almost half. Now keep in mind, a good portion of Denmark's size of land can't be accurately calculated. And this is due to the fact that because it's in an archipelago, there's so many times that tides come in and wash away islands. And this is because although it is a beautiful place, it is quite flat. It has an average elevation of 34 meters above sea level, which sets Denmark at 4th when it comes to countries with the lowest average elevation. Other countries like Maldives, Qatar, and the Netherlands are ahead of it. So you might be wondering, are there a lot of mountains in Denmark? Well, unfortunately not. The highest point is Mullahoy, sitting at 170.85 meters. Now, its height was disputed for quite a long time until they set the record straight in 2005. And the area itself is marked with a millstone, which is the remains of an old mill that used to once sit there until about 1917. And although Denmark is a really cool and interesting country, what is unique about it besides the fact that it's flat and it's got really cool culture? Well, let's talk about its economy, because currently it sits at the 37th largest export economy in the entire world. They export a total of $85.8 billion a year. Now, when it comes to imports, it ranks at 34th, having a pretty balanced import-export ratio. And its imports equal $85.2 billion, which is just shy its exports. And out of all these exports, 10% are packaged medicaments, which 28% of those medicaments go to the United States. They also export these to Germany and Sweden, and some of the imports at 4.6% are cars, and 3.5% being refined petroleum. However, if we're going to talk about Denmark and its import-exports, one that we should mention is pigs. They got a lot of them. As a matter of fact, pig meat equals 3%, with also human and animal blood coming in at 2.8%. I never knew that countries really exported blood. That's kind of a new thing for me. And the reason this is mentioned is because in Denmark, there are more pigs than there are people. As a matter of fact, they have an estimated 24 to 28 million pigs, which is much more than their like 5 million people. The reason for all these pigs is because Denmark is the leading exporter of pork in the entire world, and the country is home to about 5,000 pig farms, which maybe in the United States there's more, but as for exporting, they are the ones that actually are the highest. And as for the manure produced from these pigs, they say they could fill up to 90,000 swimming pools of it each year. I don't know if that's Olympic-sized swimming pools, but either way, that's something that I just wouldn't want to go swimming in. Now, one thing that's most important about Denmark is its monarchy. It is considered the oldest continuous monarchy in Europe. It began in 935 with Gorm the Old being considered the real first king of Denmark. However, some historians are like, no, that's not actually true. It's probably actually his son, who's named Son Harvard Bluetooth, who pretty much won all of Denmark, bringing them all together. And although there are many different family names that have changed throughout history within the royal monarchy, we should probably mention Margaret I, or as the Danish pronounce it, Margaret I, who was the first female monarch for the country. Now, she was the founder of the Kalmar Union, and her reign was from 1387 to 1412. Now, one thing that was really interesting about her is she had a really interesting policy within the government. And that was that the government would give 500 marks to any woman that was violated or abused during the wars with Denmark and Sweden. And let's not confuse her with Margaret II, who is, part of the monarchy now. Now, earlier when I talked about it being archipelago, Denmark is a country that is not only on a peninsula called Jutland, but it's also a land that is home to 433 named islands. And one thing that I found interesting, out of these 433 islands, about 70 of them are uninhabited. I didn't think there was a lot of that in Northern Europe. And out of all these islands and its peninsula known as Jutland, they have about 13 heritage sites. Now, 8 of them are considered UNESCO or UNESCO zones, and one we should mention is the Jelling Mounds Runic Stones and Church. This was the first UNESCO zone in Denmark, being inscribed in 1994. It is located in the Jelling municipality, and although it might seem like they're just 2 stones, they were erected by Grom the Old for his wife Thera. And many people think of this site as being the beginning of Denmark as a nation. And one thing to add, although these rocks are outside currently, the UNESCO officials came in and surveyed the area and discovered that these rocks were being damaged because of erosion, so they're going to put them in an indoor facility. This is Denmark, a country that does have a lot to offer. A great nation with amazing history that has been important to the formation of Europe. Denmark has the oldest continuous flag in the world. So one thing that's really fascinating about this red flag with the white stripes, which is known as the Danebrog, or commonly to other people, the Danish cloth. However, many of the kings of Denmark used this red flag with white crosses as early as 1307, but it's also thought to have been developed after the Battle of Lindenice in 1219. But either way, the Guinness Book of World Records has given the country of Denmark the official title of having the oldest continuous flag. So that's number 1. And you know, considering we're talking about symbols such as flags, let's talk about other national symbols of the country, and that is animals. So when it comes to national symbols and animals, not a lot of countries really do have animals as a national symbol, but as for Denmark, it's one of the few that does, and it's one of the fewer that actually has 2 national animals. These 2 are the elegant mute swan, which has been a national bird since 1984 when it replaced the skylark. And even smaller, let's not forget about the small tortoiseshell butterfly. And although these 2 are beautiful in their own way, Denmark is the only country that uses these animals as their representation. And heck, while we're at it, we might as well mention that the national flower is called the Marguerite daisy. Beautiful and elegant, but not deadly. Alright, so we've talked about symbols, we've talked about the flag, but you know, when it comes to Denmark, what is one of the first things that you imagine? Would it be bicycles? Well, it probably would be, because a lot of people ride them in that country. You could almost say that it has the most cyclists per capita if there was actually a study done. But take Copenhagen, for example. Many people ride them everywhere. And one thing that this country has that no other country has, at least not that I'm aware of, is a bicycle superhighway. That's right. It extends 22 kilometers long, connecting Copenhagen to the outer suburban towns. As well as if you look at the roads, there are certain bike lanes that are actually designed differently from the sidewalk and from the road. This is because their bike lanes are on a different raised level than the sidewalk and the road. And one thing that Denmark boasts is that its country has more bikes than they do cars. As a matter of fact, they have an estimated 4.2 million bicycles to 1.8 million cars. That's really good. These guys are like super green. And if we were to break it down, they say approximately 43% of cyclists are males and 57% are females. And with everybody biking around, it covers 26% of all of the trips in the country, with an average cyclist going 1.6 kilometers a day.
The kids have training at schools in the 3rd year, 3rd grade, and again in the 9th grade, and they have to do proficiency tests on the bike lane signaling and all that stuff. My son, who's 8, he was riding on the bike lanes to kindergarten with me, or to daycare when he was 3 and a half, with his training wheels, riding along. And it's just the way it is. You have to. It's a practical solution. The kids have to start riding so you can get around the city.
A lot of times in the U.S., when you're riding your bike, you feel almost like an outlaw. You feel like, can I just find a little tiny bit of space for myself? Here, you feel like they're just laying out the red carpet for you.
Now, with all this biking, you can imagine that a lot of people are really, really healthy in Denmark. And as a matter of fact, they did a study, which I don't really know how they got these numbers. I guess they based it off of another country with a similar population. But they say they get 1.1 million fewer sick days than other countries. Again, I don't really know how they got that, but one thing I can say for sure is that if there's a lot of cyclists, that means a lot of people in Denmark really got firm butts. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, getting in shape. And actually, speaking of health and health care, most people may not know this, maybe even the people within the country may not know this, but the Herlev Hospital is the tallest building in all of Denmark. And it's also considered the 8th tallest hospital in the entire world. It has 28 floors and stands 390 feet tall. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks more like an apartment complex more than a hospital, but I mean, I guess that's what they end up looking like when they get so big. But the Herlev Hospital was built in 1975, and they get about 82,000 patients a year, and it is located in Herlev, which is near Copenhagen. And okay, we talked about the tallest thing in Denmark, let's talk now about the biggest. And I'm not talking buildings, I'm talking islands, and not tropical ones. Ooh yeah. And for islands, when it comes to Denmark, the biggest of them all is Sealand Island. And this island is ranked the 13th largest in all of Europe. And as a matter of fact, it's not just the most populated island in all of Denmark, but it's also the 4th most populated island in all of Europe as well. With a population of over 2,267,000 people, it has cities like Copenhagen, Helsingør, Greve, and of course Roskilde. And the island itself makes up 39% of the entire population of Denmark. But as for size, it stretches to be 7,031 kilometers square with an average height of 125 meters. So, we know that Denmark is one of the oldest countries, we know that Denmark has the oldest continuous flag, but what about cities and structures? What is the oldest place in Denmark that is confirmed? This is the town of Ribe. This is the town of Ribe, and it's been around for a long time. With a population of slightly over 8,000 people, it claims to all of its tourists that it is not just the oldest town in all of Denmark, but the oldest in all of Scandinavia. Being first established in the 8th century with an attested document for the city dated in 1854. And as a matter of fact, the Ribe Cathedral is one of the oldest buildings in all of Denmark. Being built in 1860 along with the town, in 2010 it had its 1300th anniversary birthday, which was a giant party and I really wish I didn't miss it. This is Denmark, a country and people with great culture, of age and maturity. It is a place that has been present since the dawn of the modern world, contributing to our advancement towards the human race that we know of today. This is a country that has remained true to its heritage, being symbolized by the age of its flag, while its white cross against the red backdrop reminds us of strength and honesty against the blowing winds of time.